Hello, so glad you're tuning in. This is Stephanie Smith, owner of Cornerstone Fundamentals, and my purpose for these audio blogs are to provide fresh perspective from my experience teaching, guiding, and caring for young children. My conversational topics are evidence-based, which highlight my suggested approaches and support a cause to pause on topics of interest. Happy you're taking a moment and a listen. I've wanted to create some audio blogs for quite some time now from previous content as well as some upcoming posts. Because if you're anything like me, we do live in this multitasking world. So any way we can just elevate our insight by automating that process is a total score. In the shower one morning, and several topics and points of professional and general interest coincided together. And it just always amazes me the power and effect that water has to just connect the dots, and investing in a waterproof notebook had certainly been proven useful and has just allowed me to jot down some of the sparks of connection. So let's just dive right in. My antidote to the Great Divide, a call to action. This is an observational response piece that speaks to all parents and caregivers of young children. This could encompass caregivers that a family may hire, for instance, a nanny, babysitter, au pair. Could also be neighbors, grandparents, older siblings, perhaps extended family, to even those starting their homeschool journey, or, as we all know, the ever-growing working parents from home. I had said supporting our children's caregivers better supports our children. But, it really can't happen until you start to peel back some of those not so noticeable layers, or ones you just can't really pinpoint. And what I want to share is that I see all you caregivers, your kids see you, and I have got you. So first, I want to point out we just need to identify, right? Just like if we have a cold, we got to identify what is going on before we can even remedy it. So that would be, in this case, what does and does not seem to work best for your kids, their moods and overall reactions, and perhaps responses. Secondly, let's take action. We kind of have an idea of what's going on. So we want to communicate and provide support to those caring for your children, if it may be those that are causing some of these disconnects. Making sure ways to ensure they know what your family feels is healthy and best for your children. And there's a couple ways that can get a bit lost in translation, which I will speak about later in this piece. Thirdly, once known, getting the tools needed to just enable that training, that kind of secondary learning period and connection to happen. And this is going to be for your adults as well as your kiddos, your children. And then check in with your children to see if these tools are working. But a lot of times it's not so easy to gain tools and access. I mean, we live in a busy world. It's hard enough to find great care for your kids. But you can elevate that care, and it can be more seamless. And I'm going to try to help get us started on that journey. And these are just truly goals that are going to help your family and overall care plan. The not so great divide I break down into three primary and influential groups. The first one would be the cultural divide. Many of our caregivers, nannies, au pairs are typically from a different country or nationality than the children that they are caring for. And this can lead to several areas in which that bridge does not connect fully. Language as well as cultural views on upbringing can be vastly different in this area. And of course, certainly not to say caregivers are not wonderful, caring people that ensure your children are safe. However, this can create several areas which really need discussed more fully and then observed to really ensure that a child is getting the adequate care. This area is also overlooked as the standard of care may be communicated, but the execution of that request may look different to the person that's listening to these guidelines. This could be inadvertently by lack of understanding, possibly some communication breakdown, but also by choice. And that may not be communicated back to you as well. This goes hand in hand with just nutritional guidance, emotional support, as well as consequence approaches. Our children may not report these back because these young children, this is the first exposure they're having, and may be so slight that it's something that children may not notice would be not in the flow of your normal family day to day. But a benefit, of course, from this cultural difference can be positive in many ways. And of course, a second language to any child is just a boost and just wonderful opportunity. But really looking at the overall scope, there are gray areas that can outshine the merits of that second language, as well as just the adult eye keeping everyone safe. Moving on to number 2, the generational divide. For family members that would be stepping in to partake as the caregiving team for your young children can be such a blessing. However, those similar gray areas that I had discussed in the cultural divide can certainly follow here. You can have an existing family member that their approaches may not be so disruptive, and then have another one where certain aspects can definitely affect your child and the overall flow within your family unit. Previous generations have so much to offer and can plant such great seeds. But again, in turn, some seeds that don't grow confidence and create more reactive fear-based responses are not what anyone is hoping for. These may not be so apparent to our children, as they are ultimately the gatekeepers and can at times not feel this information needs to be passed on. Generation approaches will look different with each child, and also depending the generational gap, as well as just the overall upbringing of that caretaker. It may not be as apparent, but however, grandparents and older relatives stepping in may only be applying the tools of what they have been introduced to. So the approaches of their upbringing may or may not merit your children for today and how you function in today's world. And also, like cultural divide, I highlight the differences with nutrition, obedience, expectations can all look a bit different, as well as just engagement in permission first touch. Some of our relatives have been raised on different rules of thumb when it comes to interacting, kissing, hugging, saying hello, saying goodbye, tickles, and things of that nature. I think just having open conversation is going to be very important in this area, and understanding that each child and each family unit are different. Okay, I'm at the third group for this piece, and that would be the occupational divide. This is going to speak to parents, parents that are working from home, those that have higher profile roles, or just are emotionally and just in time-wise invested to their position in day-to-day. Each year we have more technology at our hands and a connection opportunity to just better our lives, tools that allow us to automate things and just become better multitaskers. But I think we are all growing to realize that the need to realize what is being lost is equally as important, so we don't lose those connection pieces in times with especially our younger generations and the children that we have in our lives. Parents and households are so much more busier, and again, with multitasking for the family, that can inevitably take away from those that we are really trying to serve, and that essentially would be in most cases our kiddos, our children. And they certainly can see that smoke and mirror and really get down to the root of your absence. And of course, they may not understand it, and you may not always see it. There's only so much time in a day. I certainly know that. And how really can genuine connection and daily play be possible if you are working, and especially if you're working from home? We are flooded with all these informational videos and emails and social content on ways to better yourself and ways to better you and your children. But it cannot necessarily be so simple. And the emphasis on even just bridging the gaps and those that are affecting and interacting with our kids can certainly help remedy some of that and get yourself started on the right track. And really, ways of starting that, to not go too deep into this particular blog, would be daily consistent approaches. They can happen consistently without the inevitable fear of possibly interrupting your workload, or maybe worse yet, causing big emotions within your child when you need to end that short playtime or that midday playtime. This is a rising issue with more parents working from home, Their presence is physically there, and I think it can make us all feel it's a benefit, but really can cause more distance and even a more ever-present reminder of their absence. I also want to shine light on all the children that don't have a sufficient care team and really need much more assistance than even just our, quote, normal day-to-day children. However, the intent of this information that I'm presenting is really to highlight the more broader audience, the ones that we feel like we know and can identify with. We all are different, and we all are not a perfect shining example, but that is why I think this piece is so important, so that we can remedy with just some simple tools and approaches and really cause the domino effect to slow itself and go in more so a positive direction. Not with just children, but with all of those that are caring for them. We are their advocates. And if we can set that standard of what interactions should look like with everyone involved, which would result in just feelings of safety, better bonds, and in most cases, willingness to participate, obey, be more attentive to guidelines and rules. And really want to touch on the fact that when I mention that, rules established, especially for young children, allow for healthy and safe boundaries to be established. Those healthy routines, and expectations just cause a domino effect to respecting our family, our peers, as well as the environment in which our kids live and play. That said, I am just so pleased to provide materials, tools, and even wellness toys to parents and children, and especially targeting parents that are in need of connecting or feel the guilt of that lack of connection, or possibly even lack of response and maybe some resistance from their young children. Also to amplify the caregiving team as a whole, so that everyone can be on the same page and are essentially trying to follow that same approach with our children. I'm happy to bring healthy and easy starting points and cliff notes in the Daily Saves Notebook, just to help you engage in short play, nutritional points, and just the overall starting mechanisms of each day with young children, as well as providing consistency and a direction for your connection, and really allowing kids that opportunity to have positive tasks and the joys of free independent play. The learning toys that I have created and curated are just a wonderful addition to caregivers, maybe new caregivers coming in, the family unit as a whole, just really setting out a standard of expectation in a very healthy, independent way for children to approach their day-to-day. Well, I'm so happy that you have tuned in and taken a listen. Please like and subscribe if you'd like more content, and feel free to always reach out to me on any of my products or pieces of information. I would truly love to hear your responses, if they are suggestions or even comments as to what I am conveying. And really, we're all part of this to join in and bridge the gaps of these different divides in our lives. And my background, if you have not seen my introduction and welcome video online on my YouTube channel, I've had over 12 years of experience working with children ages 2 through 8 in private homes and in groups, as well as with foster youth in a mentorship program. And I've had the opportunity to be such a keen observer and an active participant within the mentoring and teaching and guiding process. And not only have I interacted and helped with young children, I have also been just as active with their families, coaches, psychologists, teachers, and just those people that are interacting with their children as well. And I've gotten such a wonderful take on what that can look like in many different situations. I'm also grateful to have the knowledge and the look within that wonderful lens of so many specialized educators, psychologists, and really forthcoming parents, to result in my drive to provide all parents with guidance tools, materials, as well as wellness toys for their children to have a better learning experience and a way to approach their day-to-day. When you have a moment, please come see me at cornerstonefundamentals.com, The Daily Saves by Steph. You can also find my Hideaway Helper Bins, my Story Cubes, my Kids Care Kit. We have a couple more products coming out along with the Daily Saves notebook and just some additional guidance pieces. So I'm quite excited for this opportunity to engage you, your family, and your children. Have a wonderful day, and please know we are greater and stronger together.